much for the invitation. It's always nice to come to Liberec. It doesn't happen often, but I just appreciate the opportunity to be here. We've been last time here, it's actually 8 years ago, and it's the picture what we call Zerozero, walking towards EX-CENTRIC Tower. It was our first experience with having the lecture on the academic circumstances, and it was really big thing for us. A few words on where we operate. We operate in eastern Slovakia, city of Prešov. Oops. Sorry. You see three biggest cities in Slovakia. Bratislava, the capital, Košice is the second big, and Prešov. Prešov has 100,000 inhabitants, but it's definitely not competing Košice anymore, not even Bratislava. I will talk about a few of our projects. Usually we link them in chronological manner, but now I just decided to do it differently. We just wanted to take another parameter to consideration, and this is meaning, or if you want to say a different way, I would speak about the impact of our project. So the biggest project which was realized recently in Košice is Kulturpark project. We won an architectural competition in 2009. In the second round, in the first round there were 20 entries, then they picked up 4 and we won it early 2010. And then 2 years of planning and 1 year for the construction. It had to be very fast because it was very political and very EU thing. The area we were focusing on is a former military complex which was built in the last decades of the 19th century. You see the map on which you see historical city core and this area here, which was built by Austro-Hungarian army as a military supply complex. After Austro-Hungarian monarchy collapsed, the Czechoslovak army settled there, and during all this time there were no massive changes as for buildings. They put some other boxes there, and basically it was the supply complex for all the years. When Košice gained the title European Capital of Culture, some cultural operators started to operate there, and that's the status we found the complex before we started. So there was a 2-meter high wall surrounding the complex and some arcos behind it. What we basically proposed is that the complex should be open to the city, to the public, and the area which is on the perimeter of the block has a big potential to be transformed to the new public space, because at the time, Košice, the city of Košice, they were losing the massive vast public space here as they decided to build a shopping center. And the idea of having a new public space was actually kind of a main focus for us, and was perceived by jury as a really good idea. We also realized that the area which is between the buildings is very precious. It was the 100-year-old park with old trees, and we saw that new public space surrounding the area should be kind of the complementary element. So you have two very nice environments, park and the square. That's our competition entry. We didn't know much about how this thing will work, but we really knew that it had to have some system, because we analyzed all these historic buildings and we found really precise modular schemes, and answer to the system is system again. So we developed the system how to operate with new volumes, with new activities, which should be spread in the area. So what we basically did is just renovation or reconstruction of this central building for the concert halls, meeting rooms, exhibition spaces, cafes and so on, adding one special technical tract, and then renovation and reconstruction of this building, which was storage originally, and another storage. The rest was sold to the private bodies, so we couldn't operate in the complex as it was. The old architecture, old layer of the architecture is complemented by the group of new buildings, new pavilions, which are spread into the area, because we just realized that the activities and events happening in the buildings could spread into the public space and into the park to get kind of attractors for the people, for meetings, workshops, and so on. So, as I said, we analyzed the buildings. They were using grid 5 by 5 meters. We just tested another step, 1 to 1, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 8. So the grid 8 by 8 meters is developed through the entire area, and it determines location of new architectural layer, the sizes of the newly inputted buildings and so on, and somehow it fits with the existing buildings. We played kind of a strategic game with the division of the grid and ended up with a final situation like this. So the new 8 pavilions are accompanied with greenery podiums, which are spread into the area to create infrastructure for events. As for material used for the new square, we decided to use white concrete because the white concrete serves as a kind of a media to show the frontiers or the borders of our intervention, and it works perfectly. From very beginning of our work, we were trying very hard to get a very abstract final image, but it never works. Always the troubles with the detailing, and we always suffer the lack of a real proper architectural education, and very troubled situations for realizing the buildings. This time it somehow clicked, and it's sometimes actually when I saw the pictures first time, the feeling was very nice. It was as abstract as we could really manage. It has to be said that new urban furniture for this occasion was developed by Austrian architectural office PPAG, Georg Poduška and Anna Popelka. You might know them because of the furnishing of museums quartier in Vienna, and we know them for long, and we just asked them to do this. You see the different situations and different environments. The park on the left meeting the square on the frontier of these two environments. The pavilion, then this 2D kind of a fontaine, and the podiums where some performances and events might happen, and then urban pergola for those who want to be on the square and have some shadow in the summer. Of course, it has an informational potential to show what kind of events is happening in complex. A few images. The functionality of those elements is quite wide. They could be organized in a different way and occupy different parts of the square. As I spoke about the grid, we have another level of the grid, 24 by 24 meters. which create this special lighting. All the crosses have their own IP, and it's possible to program it. As for materiality of our new input, we were trying many different approaches and ended up with using highly polished stainless steel, so-called super mirror, which serve as a kind of a camouflage. So the buildings are just taking the qualities of the park or of the square, and they kind of disappear. Sometimes in the evening the interior shows what's happening because we have the structural facades. What has to be said about those small tiny buildings which are built in module 8x8, sometimes it's two or three modules. We don't have another supporting system than the structural facade. So the columns which belong to the glazing, they are also holding the roof, which was very hard to persuade all the people, but as we have a very good structural engineer, we were sure that we could afford it. Yeah, basically old meeting new in a very nice environment of the park. We were also facing the problem that investor, the city, they really didn't know how to call the buildings. They gave them very strange names like Center for Creativity and this kind of thinking, and the performing of the buildings we didn't like very much, so we just went for the military phonetic alphabet as a reminiscence of the former military of the complex. We picked up Point Zulu, from which we projected all the names of the buildings to the facades and embodied them into the facades in their materiality. So we have the central building Alpha, the building Bravo, Charlie, and so on. And sometimes it has not only the informational meaning for us, but also maybe poetic. I think it's very nice if the building could be called November, or November for the workshops, or Papa for the cafe or restaurant. Those original 19th century buildings were completely renovated. Of course, we did some necessary changes inside of them, but simply we wanted to keep the quality and detailing of original buildings. There's another public space in front of the central building, Alpha, and the cafe called Papa. It's a little piazzetta. It's a place where the people hang on before the concerts or after concerts. And the cafeteria expands here. I don't have a picture with the chairs, tables. Some images from the interior. We have some concert halls, small of course, as it was bakery, and we just really didn't want to make big changes there. Another a bit smaller gathering place for dancing. This is the lounge with a skylight above it, looking towards the gallery, which looks like this. You see the window connecting the lounge and the gallery. Now we have moved to the building Bravo, which is prepared for the workshops, offices, and also some exhibition space. It was sold as the point where young creative people will get the space to develop their activities. I'm not very sure if it works. We just respected original steel structure and added new concrete ceilings. And as I spoke about geometry, the rasters, the grids, we use also diagonals, and we played little games with the light too. External podiums served as points where you could organize the different things. There is electricity and internet connection. Each of the podium has such devices. This is one of the workshop pavilions we call Foxtrot, and there is some workshop going on. The The test of the complex was after we finished it. It was like end of August. They had a massive festival there, and it was really stressful for us. But yeah, well, the parking garage, which is underneath the square, was tested at the evening. Now you see the comparing of the budgets. This first project was unbelievable amount of the money. We never dealt with such a budget, and probably will never do it again. Only time could judge if it was good spending or not. And it's very, very hard to say how Košice, the city like Košice, would operate. We did everything to lower the operational costs by using underground water for heating, so we have water pumps there and so on. Using original water for toilets was quite ecological project. That's the comparing of the sizes, so 37,000 square meters of the entire area we were in charge. Second project, I have to make it a bit faster probably. It's a residential complex, also based on the winning of architectural competition in 2002. It's actually the date when we established Zerozero. You see the budget and area comparing to others. City of Prešov is really nice, quiet place to live. Definitely, it has its own problems, but I'm not going to details. This picture is taken from one hill and shows Prešov as a majestic place, but well, okay. That's the city core. In the walking distance, we have this football stadium and original housing estate from the 50s. It looked like this. It was good living at the time, but after new residential complexes were built, original population just moved away, houses stayed abandoned, and Roma population took over. When the city decided that it's impossible to deal with this precious inner city area like this, they just developed other plot, moved these people to the new location and prepared an architectural competition. We introduced quite drastic change of image. From nowadays point of view, it's quite probably strange to talk that slanted roofs should be changed to flat ones, but we just went for this. You have basic information on the project. And of course, the project was very long in a way of the construction. So we were just dealing with it like 5 years, and many changes had to be done, but we survived, and we kept the concept to the final image. So you can compare the amount of money, and the size is almost half the size of the Culture Park. Another project I'm going to talk is our installation in Architectural Biennale 2008 in Venice. There was a competition organized by Slovak National Gallery, which we won with our project Sideways. The topic of Biennale or subject was set by Arnoldetsky as architecture beyond building, which could be interpreted by many different ways and had a real hidden hints and different connotations. We just decided to walk away from the field of architecture. We didn't want to talk very much about the forms and layouts and structures, so we just decided to do a little survey amongst our friends, how they live, what is their lifestyle according to food. From friends, we got friends of friends, and then completely to strangers. We gathered around 100 different refrigerators, or images of refrigerators, and recipes of their favorite food. We also asked about their lifestyle, how many square meters they live on, is it a flat or is it a single family house, and so on. We did a little research, which was finally reconstructed in Venice. So we brought original food from Slovakia and bought some fruit and vegetables in Italy, and it was a processual installation where people could check what's in the fridge and even test and taste. Then we just had a short little book which looked like this, with the records of the human behavior in the pavilion, and also notices about testing of different components of our fridges. You see that's a very small one as for size, but it's very important for us and for the knowledge we gained on it. Another thing, very briefly, is our winning proposal for ICA. It was Europlan 10 in 2009. It was actually the last year I could do the Europlan, because it's the competition for young people less than 40 years old. You see, yeah, that's here. It's happening in 2009. It was very short. City of Ica is a place which becomes city by junction of 3 villages, and it's I would say it's very light and it's a very nice place to live. Besides, they have this typical cluster of shops and services with nice parking. We spent hours and hours by discussing new public space, new square, what the quality it should have, what the shape it should have, and then we ended up realizing that there's no need for the square, that's really need for the density, which was missing, because they have a really nice empty spaces, greenery and so on, but they don't have a real dense structure of the urban little streets and small places. So we proposed 10 3-story buildings with a parking garage underneath, and shops and retail and services on the ground floor, with active first floor and 2 floors of flats. The thing was rejected by the officials of ICA as not interesting for them. Okay, yeah, you see the size. It's quite big. It's almost 2 times bigger than Kasarny Kulturpark. That's another intervention which is really long. It started in 2006, then nothing. Then in 2009 we did the planning permission. Then in 2010, overlapping with the other project on the top, we did planning permission, construction permission, and now in the end of 2013 we did final drawings and building has started. It's a typical center for for the housing estate, which we know from many different cities. So you have the shops and services and many different activities which are organized around this courtyard. We proposed kind of a hybrid public space, something between the park and the square. It could be called pocket park. So it's just, you see, we call it as a carpet, which just all the height differences which were originally there. So you have the continuous continuous flat, which is not flat actually, it's slanted. And you have the 43 trees which are organized in the triangular system. Okay, comparing it for size with the rest, it's not so small, it's sideways, but it's smaller, it's bigger than the next project. As for other project, it's also 7 years ongoing thing. It's a bridge across River Poprad on border with Poland. You see the place. It's very nice nature. On the Polish side, there is a lot of construction going on. It's a nice place, and they usually go there for vacations. But on the Slovak side, nothing happening. So this project has a kind of a social potentiality for social change. Sulin, the closest village, is a small village where people basically don't have much to do, and the new bridge could serve them as an opportunity to develop maybe some activities and little businesses as it's happening on the Polish side. Or the bridges usually built in the area are very spectacular. They're using the vertical structures and the ropes. We wanted the approach to the problem or to the nature by more modest way. So we went for this horizontal structure with the binary situation, as you have the two countries, Poland and Slovakia. You have a river, so the part of the bridge going across the river is arc, and this is the flat. Here, so you see the budget. It's almost like the little square I was talking about before, and you see the size. It's almost the same. Now I'm coming to our present project, which started in 2012, and now we are about to finish construction permission. You see that it's quite new, but it's overlapping with the other things which are happening at the moment, and with other I'm going to talk later. Basically, it's a plot in the wider center of city of Prešov. Was old garden. Nobody took care of it for a long time, and private developer just decided to do this kind of housing there. It's kind of a hybrid thing. Combination of individual houses with little gardens, with the collective housing facing into the street. Some models. As for budget, it's definitely bigger than Sulin Bridge and bigger than the square I was talking about. And the size is comparable. During all these years we operate in the area of East Slovakia. There is one line of the family houses going on. I'm not going to talk too much about that. We were working very much with the courtyards and so on. Some of the weekend houses are also here on the exhibition, and this is our last, which works with a completely different scenarios, and a couple of models which are present in our life. Very briefly about our research we did for Berlage. That's by far the biggest project in a way, thinking about the size. We were asked to develop the prototype for the middle scale city. So our prototype was was a void of public gardens, public spaces for the gathering, relax, and social intervention between people, which was defined by 2 walls, and we tested it on 2 sides. In Košice, where it comes in, those stripes come in sequence, and then in Mechelen in Belgium. It was very big, of course, it was just research, and what we do as other thing is that we teach at Košice always only winter semester, and always the family houses, which could be, and it is very tiring already. And now you have all the things together. At the end, I would say that it's not linear. It doesn't develop from the smaller jobs towards the bigger jobs. And when we were doing this Culture Park project, we were complaining how hard it is, how big it is. But now, just combination of all the small things happening at the same moment, it's even harder for us. Thank you for your attention. Yeah, that's it.